There we go. Welcome back. So we're all the way down to letter G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's pretty bad when you have to use your fingers to count up to the number 7, isn't it? And again, for those of you, for any of you who haven't been following me, you don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to learn how to do, in this case, a caricature of myself. You don't know what I look like. There's the real me. There's a caricature of me. Or there's real me. I got to turn you around, make sure you're still pointing in the right direction. In the style of a very famous, very well-known illustrator named C.F. Payne. And forgive me for sounding like a name dropper, but I knew him in Dallas 30 years ago, and his name was Chris. So sometimes I call him Chris, sometimes I call him C.F. I don't know what his friends call him. Okay, so layer number 1. I've had to cull all this information off the little bit of information that Chris has online. Layer number 1, pencil drawing. 2, acrylic glaze, acrylic scummel, not glaze, acrylic layer. 3, watercolor, then lifted off. 4, oil, then erased off. So this is technically layer number 5. And even though Chris doesn't spell this out, I'm sort of assuming that at this point he comes in here and re-pushes his dark values. The last stage that he advertises, the last stage he describes is going back and forth between colored pencil and acrylic glazes. The acrylic glazes are done for the dark areas, and watercolor and pencil, I'm sorry, I can't sometimes draw and think at the same time, and colored pencil for the light areas. But at least for me, at least on this particular drawing, I feel like I need to begin to do, please don't talk, the camera's running, okay? If you do talk, you have to be sure to make pleasant sounds. Not because everybody watching doesn't know that grandchildren sometimes make unpleasant sounds, but because it's disturbing. It's uncomfortable to me when you make unhappy sounds when I'm making a video, okay? So, in fact, right now, I'm wondering if I shouldn't be using a soft black. So here's my watercolor pencils, and yeah, here's a soft Prismacolor black. I'm wondering if I should be using that instead of the hard watercolor for these details. Again, now Chris did not spell out that he does what I'm sort of doing here, an intermediary step, an intermediary stage of dark details, but I'm sort of assuming that he does. As you can see, this whole thing right now has it has a lot of really fun aspects about it, but it looks like I'm in a fog, right? So I feel like before I can proceed to detail, I really need to defog it. Can I use that term? I really need to sharpen up the details again before I start putting in light areas and color. The way it stands right now, the drawing of myself, the caricature, needs quite a bit more color. Again, compare it to this, right? Compare. So that color is going to come from 2 mediums. It's going to come from acrylic glazes or acrylic washes and colored pencil. one of the things I'm most anxious to do is get rid of this sickly sky blue color in my eyeballs here. My eyeballs just are not that color, so I've been anxious to. It's okay for an underpainting there. That's looking more like the right color of my eyes now. More of a hazel. I'll probably even fix that a little bit. Change the color, tweak the color of my eyes a little bit before I'm finished. So this stage is, I would think most artists, if you're an artist like myself and you enjoy drawing, this is just like, just put on a good podcast, something entertaining, and this is very relaxing, kind of like doing a jigsaw puzzle. It's not fast, it's going to take a while, but it's very, very fun just copying. I mean, my head is going back and forth, I don't know if my head's in the view or not, continually looking at the reference for more details. But I can already see that one of the great parts about this technique is that where the creases in my face are shallow, are not deep, like this line, well, like this line here, I don't need to come in here, and I am going to go in here. I don't need to come in with a pencil and etch out something that doesn't need etching out. And the way it is right now, it's very soft, very natural, very believable looking texture. And again, that's just the beauty of Chris's technique, with especially the most salient issue is the 2 layers of lifting out. Lifted out twice. Did a brown watercolor over the entire thing. It was acrylic, then watercolor on top. So as you know, acrylic is impervious. Once it's dry, it's like a plastic toy truck. You know, you can soak water on all you want and it's not going anywhere. So when you put watercolor on top of acrylic, the acrylic is unaffected. Therefore, you can take a damp brush and lift out the watercolor and leave the acrylic. The acrylic is unmolested. I can use that word. So that was lift out number 1. And then the next layer is oil, and oil and water don't mix. So even though it's watercolor, which is very, watercolor is very fugitive, very, very easy to mess up. You know, a damp hand here can do extreme damage to a layer of watercolor. But even though watercolor is that fragile, it doesn't mix with oil. So when you put oil down, it doesn't affect the watercolor at all. And then erase the oil with a kneaded eraser, and again, that process doesn't affect the watercolor layer at all. So brilliant technique. I'd love to know where Chris, or CF Payne, where he learned this. I suspect he made it all up over the course of years by trial and error. But if that's not the case, I'd like to give credit to whoever deserves it. I don't know anybody that uses a technique even remotely similar to this, other than CF Payne. And if I'm wrong about that, I'm sorry. If somebody knows somebody, if you're watching and you know somebody who does a technique like this, please, please, please let me know. I'm learning it. Why? Partly just because I'm curious and want to, and it's fun. Partly because it's a technique that deserves to be recorded for posterity. And even though Chris is a phenomenal artist, he doesn't appear to be a phenomenal teacher. And so I'm taking it upon myself, forgive me, talk about chutzpah. I'm taking it upon myself to teach C.F. Payne's technique to the world, because he hasn't taught it very well. And Chris, if you ever do see this, man, please, please, please help me out here. Tell me what I'm missing. Okay, you can see how that's starting to pop now. And you don't need to watch me do tons of this. So the next layer, after, it's really the same layer. The next thing I'm going to do is all these light colored pencils, especially the yellow, orange, pink, and so forth. Orange and pink and red in here to brighten up this skin tone. And then acrylic combined with acrylic glazes. Again, for instance, you can see that this whole face here has a lot of touches of pink. Look at here, here, of course, tulips, there. A lot of pink in everywhere that is not here. Most of that is going to be accomplished with very, very, very delicate acrylic glazes or acrylic washes. And the light highlights, let me point out to you again. Do you see the light highlights? The whites, nearly white, here, all on this side of the face up here, and the teeth and the eyes and so forth. That does not exist here at all. That's going to be done with colored pencil. So it would be basically get light with colored pencil, get dark with acrylics. And that is a very, very standard approach to painting. You get light with opaques, you get dark with transparents. So Chris is, so to speak, following the rule with this final layer. Okay, you don't have to watch me do anymore. It's starting to look kind of fun though, isn't it? Starting to look a little bit like a CF paint illustration. We'll see. I did one last week, gave myself a B+. If I can come out with an A- or an A on this one, I'll be happy. Thanks so much for watching. The next episode, I believe, will be on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.